Well, as you know, a big year in the United States with the presidential election on November 3. For 4 years now, Donald Trump has copped it all. They've thrown everything at him for months, indeed years. The Democrats and their left-wing media mates have been dripping with hatred and a determination to get rid of President Trump at any cost. Yet despite all the fake news about President Trump and his handling of coronavirus, federal data released last Thursday showed the American economy added a record 4.8 million jobs in June, on top of more than 2 million in May. This is incredible stuff, and in all likelihood will form the basis of the Trump campaign. Trump, the businessman, needed to revive the economy. And on the cultural wars, cultural Marxism, that Mark Latham and I talked about last night, while our leaders here in Australia fail to speak out, Donald Trump seems the only world leader prepared to stand up to this militant behaviour. Though I must say, the French President Macron is a recent and welcome recruit. Well, in his 4th of July Mount Rushmore speech a few days ago, President Trump said this, and I quote, cop this, "Our founders launched not only a revolution in government, but a revolution in the pursuit of justice, equality, liberty and prosperity." He went on, and yet, as we meet here tonight, there's a growing danger that threatens every blessing our ancestors fought so hard for. He said our nation is witnessing a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values and indoctrinate our children. How good is that? Makes you want to cheer. Are you listening, Scott Morrison? President Trump then said one of their political weapons is cancel culture, driving people from their jobs, shaming dissenters and demanding total submission from anyone who disagrees. He said this is the very definition of totalitarianism, and it's completely alien to our culture and our values, and it has absolutely no place in the United States of America. This is outstanding stuff. And then this, in our schools, our newsrooms and our corporate boardrooms, there's a new far-left fascism that demands absolute allegiance. If you don't speak its language, perform its rituals, recite its mantras and follow its commandments, then you'll be censored, banished, blacklisted, persecuted and punished. Unquote. Well, make no mistake, Donald Trump's the hope of the side. The West fought wars and gave lives to defeat Marxism, to protect freedoms, to defend capitalism against socialism. Now we're faced with Black Lives Matter, a movement whose 3 founders are declared Marxists, committed to upending the social order of Western nations. They're actually talking, as you know, in parts of America, about defunding the police. These are foot soldiers of a new ideology that's profoundly anti-Western and views Western history as little more than a litany of crimes. People are entitled to protest, of course. They aren't entitled to burn down city blocks. Now, each week, we'll be looking at America with the distinguished Australian journalist Miranda Devine, who's now correspondent for the New York Post. Remember, what we do on this program, we talk to people who know their stuff and can inform us across a range of issues. Miranda joins us. Miranda, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Alan, and congratulations on the program. It sounds fantastic.
Well, Miranda, thank you so much. Now, listen, would you rate that speech at Mount Rushmore, a historic precinct, of course, as an part of the election campaign? That's what he's going to run on, isn't it?
It is. And look, it's, I think, the best speech of his career, and it came at the perfect time because, you know, the country is very dispirited. They've just come out of 3 months of a lockdown because of the pandemic to find a crippled economy, really, which is starting to roar back, as you said, but there's a lot to do. And then suddenly, in the middle of all that, we had these Black Lives Matter protests, which, as you rightly say, are really nothing to do with making Black lives better. They're all about, an anti-family, anti-police, Marxist agenda. So those protests spilled out onto the streets and fomented violence and looting and rioting. Police were attacked. It's unbelievable that in a city like New York, which I remember back in the 1990s was so dangerous, and it was only through the hard work, miracle really, of the NYPD in the decades since that it has become, or had become, the safest big city in the country. Suddenly now, The police have been defunded because of all this nonsense by $1 billion last week, the City Council. That's 1/6 of their budget. They're being attacked all the time. They've basically been disempowered. They are not able to effect any arrests, and they've cancelled now their own anti-crime squad, which was the group of officers that went out and got the guns off the street.
Miranda, you made this comment, which is very interesting for our viewers. The president's media antagonists fell over themselves to find fault with the speech.
It was amazing. I mean, they must have been watching a different speech. It was so dishonest. They called it divisive and dark and, a racist dog whistle. They could not find more negative words to say. It was as if they'd written their piece before he started. In fact, it was a really optimistic speech, and it talked about American greatness. It was about, building things, not tearing them down. And as you say, he called out the left-wing fascism that's taken over the culture.
Yeah. What about this Kanye West? What's he up to?
Well, look, Kanye West has an album to promote. So he's announced that he's going to be running for president, presumably as an independent. But it's ridiculous because all the primaries are finished, so maybe it is a publicity stunt, but he is a friend of Donald Trump's. So he may be going into it to actually split off some of the black vote from Joe Biden, because the Democrats need 85% of the black vote to win the presidency. And look, Donald Trump has been working very hard to try and woo the black vote. Aspirational black people like Donald Trump, but of course they are abused in the most disgustingly racist terms, even by other black people.
What about Joe Biden? I mean, there is a lot of talk, to use two words, cognitive decline. Now, there are going to be 3 debates against Donald Trump. Is he capable of formulating and articulating ideas, Joe Biden?
Well, I guess we'll see. He spent the last 3 months hiding out in his basement, and every single interview he did or speech he gave was all done via teleprompters. And even then he made gaffes. I saw him up close and personal in New Hampshire and in Iowa in small rooms earlier this year, and he was hopeless. Even just for a basic stump speech, his staff had to bring in the teleprompters. He still lost his train of thought. I will be very interested. I don't know what kind of super juice they can give him for the debates.
Great to talk to you, Miranda. As I said to our viewers tonight, we talk to the people who know what they're talking about. Really look forward to catching up again next week.
Thanks so much, Alan.
There you are. That's Miranda Devine with the American Report.